is Elisa. Welcome to my channel. In this video I will talk about my fifth finished object of my 2025 knitting project, and that's a project that will span the all of 2025, for which I will knit all of the patterns in issue 9 of Making Stories magazine. The magazine is unfortunately discontinued, but all the patterns are available as individual downloads on Ravelry, so if you feel inspired after watching this video, you can head there. The link will be below, as will be the link to my Ravelry project for this sweater. That's what we're talking about today. One of my goals for the 2025 knitting project was to keep better track of my knitting, make better notes, and to that end, I am making Ravelry projects for my knits, and I'm also keeping a journal. I will show you the journal in a minute. I have to say that I like writing in the journal more than I like making the Ravelry projects, but that's just me. You can still count on a Ravelry project where I will write all the details about modifications and the yarn and everything. So if you wanted to double check with that, go there. I also have a full video where I talk about my other goals for my knitting project 2025. The link will be in the description. So that's also something you can check out if you like the idea of a year-round or year-long knitting project. The pattern we're talking about is called Etamine, and the designer is Emma Ducher. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Sounds like a German name, so it shouldn't be too wrong, but I'm not sure. Emma, if you're watching, please free to correct me. Unlikely, but you never know. And I will start with some technical details before I talk about my knitting experience of the sweater. I started this on March 23 and I finished it in June, on the 19th of June. I never knit on one thing, so it doesn't mean that it took me 3 months. It took me 3 months because I was knitting it together with a lot of other things. I also had a long break, more than 2 weeks, because I was away and I didn't bring it with me. So yeah, take it for what it is. I knitted size 2 in the magazine. I've been knitting size 3 for other patterns in this magazine. I always find myself between sizes here. Also, I'm someone who doesn't like a huge amount of ease, so that sometimes helps me to choose the size I will pick, you know, depending on how much ease I know that I like or don't like. In this case, I picked size 2 because it's a round yoke construction, and I like round yokes to sit on my shoulders and my chest very nicely. So I think size 3 would have been a bit looser, and it is on the model here. So I think the designer really meant it to be more drapey than it is on me, but that's the way I like it, so size 2 it is. The expected gauge was 22 stitches by 31 rows in stockinette, and I got 23 stitches by 29 rows on stockinette, and we're almost there. I didn't use the original yarn. The original yarn used by the designer was Rerum Natura something. Let me check for you. Yes, the original yarn was the Rerum Natura Ulysses. I used Cool Wool by Lana Grossa. The reason why you see so many Lana Grossa yarns in my projects is that my local yarn store was a one brand store. They only sold Lana Grossa, and it's a commercial yarn, of course, but they have a huge range of colors and a huge range of types of yarn, so different compositions, different looks, and so on. This one is 100% wool, merino wool, double checking. So yes, cool wool is 100% merino wool, And the funny thing about this project is that it underwent a complete change of colors. The only one that stayed is the yellow. It started with a gray, charcoal gray main color, and then 4 contrasting colors that were the yellow and 3 shades of blue, from a darker petrol blue to a light baby blue. And I really liked them together. But as I started knitting on them, I realized that that's not how I envisioned this project. So I went back to the shop knowing that I would use those blues and charcoal gray for something else, no problem. I would find a use for them. And I bought these colors instead. Also, these shapes on the yoke remind me of petals. They could be leaves as well, of course, but because of the round shape, like it's like wearing a giant flower on your upper body, and so I wanted these spring-like flowery colors. There were 4 in the yoke, but I couldn't find a 4th one that I liked enough combined with the rest, so I used the same color for the neck and for the body and sleeves, and I think it worked just fine. Yeah, I like the color combination. In that sense, I am completely happy. I worked this on 3.75mm needles instead of the recommended 4mm needles, and I went down to 3mm needles for the hem and the neck and the cuffs. And that brings me to tell you how I am not so sure now about my yarn choice anymore, not in terms of colors. Like I said, the colors are fine, but in terms of quality. Meaning not quality, maybe the type of yarn, you know. I never worked with the recommended yarn with Ulysses by the Rerum Natura, so I don't know how that, you know, what kind of fabric that produces. This is soft and drapey and very squishy and elastic, as you can see. So I think that might be the reason why my ribbing is not very neat. I don't know, it should be the opposite, right? It should be the opposite, that an elastic yarn really keeps your stitches in place. I don't know. And I used this yarn before. I used it specifically for a colorwork sweater. So when I made this choice, I was confident that it would be okay. That other colorwork sweater, though, had a 2x2 ribbing at the neck and the other edges. This one had a 2x2 ribbing in the original, but I didn't like that style with a sweater that I find a little more on the elegant, smart side. And I think a 1x1 ribbing is more suitable for that kind of sweater. So I did a 1x1, which looks fine at the cuff. Not sure if I can bring it close enough. Yeah, this looks nice and neat and regular, with a very pretty Italian bind off as well. I'll put maybe a close-up photo of it. But the bottom and the neck, they are a bit too loose. So that's something that is putting me off a little bit. I certainly don't want to go back and redo it. That's out of the question. But yeah, it could have been better, and yeah, so that's something that doesn't make me happy 100%. On the other hand, the stockinette fabric is perfect. It honestly looks almost machine knit. It's really, really nice. However, I had some tension issues here on the yoke as well, and as I went back to the magazine to prepare for this video and to show you some of the photos in here, I realized that the same thing is very visible in the photos in the magazine. So I thought, you know, what I'm getting here is kind of looser stitches. Let's see. Looser stitches here. You can see them very well. Here on the the tips, oops, other way, other way here. On the tips of these leaves, you can see that they are a bit looser than the rest. And that's also something that I am not really liking. One of my friends says that it gives it a more natural look, like, you know, like a more leafy or petally look, or a lacy look even. But yeah, I really don't like it, I have to say. And I haven't found a way to fix it. I could go to the inside and try pulling all the stitches back to close it a little bit. But, well, again, I'm not sure I want to do that. And I'm not sure if it would give me the result that I want. And like I said, here in the photos, it's very visible. So it's the same thing, the exact same thing. Loose stitches, little holes. So I wonder now if it would have been possible to avoid them. Who knows? So if you've knitted this, or if you have similar experiences, maybe with a similar kind of pattern, let me know what I should do. Or if you know about a solution, maybe going in with a darning needle and pull everything close. I don't know. To be quite honest, at the moment, I'm not sure. I mean, I finished it when it was like too warm to wear it anyway, so I decided to leave it as is and then think about it later on in the season when I will be able to wear it. But as it is, as much as I like it, you know, seen from this distance, I'm not sure if I'm going to wear it as it is because of those little irregularities. Okay, what else? I'm going to show you the page I was reading from. Sometimes I paste little thingies. This is the yarn with the color and numbers that will be below. And this is the page where I gave the pattern my final ratings. I always do that for all of the patterns, and the ratings are for the yarn, which gets a 5 out of 5 anyway, because it's a very nice yarn to work with. So part of knitting for me is the experience of doing it, because I really love, of course, a finished object, but yeah, I knit for the love of knitting. So if I knit with a good yarn that I enjoy, that's still a good experience. The finished object gets a 4 out of 5, not because I don't like the sweater itself, but because of all these little details. As someone who has knitted for a long time, now I have come to the point when details are so important for me, because I have many knitted garments, and the next step is to make them really 100% to my liking and 100% polished and professional, if you see what I mean. I'm not sure I'm explaining myself well here, but yeah, in the beginning when you start knitting, you're just happy to have been able to finish something. Now I know that I'm able to finish something, so I want it to be perfect, between brackets, because nothing's ever perfect, but you know, perfect to my standard. And this is not. Pattern clarity gets a 5. No issues with the pattern, on the contrary, it was well written and well explained. And the knitting experience is my last rating, and it gets a 4 out of 5 because of, you know, the color work. I also had issues. The floats here are very long, so you have to catch them, and that's a bit boring, honestly. So, but on the other hand, you cannot let them float freely, because they really are too long. Yeah, the other thing is that I get a bit of puckering here. So yeah, maybe there were some tension issues after all for this one. I mentioned that I made a few modifications. The first one is the ribbing that I already talked about. And I also didn't do a folded neck. So the original pattern has a folded neck. I don't like folded necks, not particularly. I have a few garments with a folded neck, but those, one is a mohair, for example, so even if you fold, you don't get a neck that is too thick. That's what I don't like about folded necks, that they get too thick. Okay, the cast on is a tubular cast on, and the bind off is an Italian bind off. I also did wrap and turn short rows instead of something else. I don't know what it is. Maybe it was German short rows, I think. Those are the most popular kind anyway, but I don't like them because they are visible in my knitting. So there are short rows here at the neck, and when I do German short rows, the stitch that you pull is very visible. I don't know why. It's just me not being able to do it, but I prefer wrap and turn. Those are better in my garments. I also added one round of color work here at the bottom to like taper this shape better, so it ended more pointed and less flat. That's very easy to do if you want to do it. It's 7 stitches, and I just knitted the 3 central ones in the contrast color. Nice and easy. And I'm just looking at this. I wrote down something that doesn't really make sense, so I have to correct it. Yeah, I also put in some decreases in the sleeve. Let's see if I can show you, but in the worst case I will put a close-up of the photo of the sleeve, like a photo of the sleeves. So I had to decrease very sharply, or very sharply, is that the word? Like a lot of stitches, like 40 stitches at the cuff, because then you get a balloon sleeve, and that's a style that I don't particularly like. So I decreased 20 along the length of the sleeve and then 20 before the cuff. In this way I still got a sleeve that puffs out a little bit and a very narrow cuff, but not too much, or not as much as the original called for. One thing to keep in mind is that I don't have any of this pink yarn left over, so that means that if I had knitted the sleeve without decreases, I probably would have run out of yarn. That's something you want to keep in mind if you want to knit this pattern. And the other thing you need to keep in mind is that this cuff is really fitted. So this cuff still has the same amount of stitches that was called for in the pattern, because the stitches I decreased is the same, and I have very small wrists, and for me it's still a very narrow cuff, which is fine. I don't mind because it's elastic, but you know, if you have bigger wrists for the same size, you might find that they are too tight. And that's it. I think I told you everything about this. Again, I would say that I am 90% happy, and I will be grateful for any advice again on how to fix those loose stitches. Hopefully something that doesn't require hours and hours of pulling stitches, but I don't see what else I can do about it. Anyway, looking forward to your comments, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.